Yeah, I don't know. Have you figured out like social media for the restaurant industry?
Um, well, I think like everything, like I think it's like the same recipe for the restaurant industry. Like consistency is key,
Yeah.
and it is a lot of work. And I don't think the owners are able to take that on their shoulders solely.
Yeah.
I've tried to delegate the social media quite a few times, and I think that now I finally have somebody that is excited about it, and that's the problem. Like finding somebody that's just as excited and just understanding of your brand and what do you want to put out there. So we have an employee. Her name is Genevieve Kerr, and she's been doing it for a few months now, and she's really good about creating the content, which is like the biggest issue that I was facing. Not having a plan every day, just coming in like, okay, Donald, just cut some veggies. I'll take a picture of you, and just, I guess we'll do that today. She's able to take some time and sit down and create a plan. And then at our, weekly manager meeting, she tells us, this is my content for this week, and I'm going to need your help creating this TikTok. And so she asked me to do I don't know if you saw, like we just got a bunch of new kids in,
saw that, yeah.
the fresh meat.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, so she asked me to do that. So I did that. I did the fresh meat people. So it's just like that, I think, is working out for me a lot more than it was working before, where it was like solely on my shoulders to do it. So to delegate it to somebody that's very present in your restaurant, not an outside, because they're not there every day.
Right.
They can't capture the content that you need versus, a full service restaurant, a server that has some interest in that, that's working 4 nights a week. Yeah. Come in an hour early,
Yeah.
get a few shots. I think that is key for us, at least. So I'm not posting 4
Yeah.
things a day.
No. No restaurant is.
No. But I think it comes back down to like sustainability. And that's like the whole thing that I've been like obsessed with, like over the past couple months, just like how can we, because when we think of sustainability right now, it's just like, okay, like being earth conscious or whatever, like being careful with what we're doing. But it's like sustainability in the restaurant industry is like so much more than that. How our choices and the things that we do are going to be sustainable for all the facets of like our lives. So social media, having it solely on my shoulder is not a sustainable method of operation. And every decisions that we make right now, I'm always going right back to this, when somebody's like, oh, you should really consider, so we have like compostable bowls, right? Because how do you call my type of restaurant? A fast casual service, like, right? So you order at the counter, you get your food. We serve our food in compostable bowls, and we have compostable straws. And that's like kind of like the 2 things that we're going to make the biggest impact. But then you always get those people that are like, oh, you should really consider compostable, like plastic silverware or whatever. I'm like, that's great, but that's not a sustainable choice right now, because if you looked at the price, it's 8 times more expensive. Then so once that option becomes a sustainable choice for my restaurant, I will consider it. But right now it would like not work for me. I wouldn't be able to provide the same service because I wouldn't be able to provide it in everybody's bag. Like unless you want to pay for it. And then it's like constantly, then it's not sustainable for you, because it's like the price of your lunch keeps going up and up and up and up. So I've just been obsessed with like sustainability in the restaurant industry, whether it's like staffing. How do you keep your staff? How do you make this job for them sustainable? How is the work-life balance? Constantly the restaurant industry was difficult for work-life balance.
Yeah.
And I'm just obsessed with this. Like, it needs to be sustainable. It's a career choice for a lot of people. And it should be. Like, it's a fun industry to be in. That's an industry that I chose. There's a lot of people that I work with, and I'm like, this person would be perfect for the industry. How do you make that a sustainable career for them? Knowing that they're probably going to want to have a family and they want a life, and they're going to go to weddings on a Saturday once in a while, and they're going to,
Yeah.
and they need to go out in restaurants on a Friday night to see how it is in other places. And how do you make that all work? And how do you make your mentality as an owner, operator, yeah, it's okay. All right. You want this Saturday, you want to take that weekend off. Okay. We're going to make it work, instead of just saying like, no, like, you're a chef, you can't take the weekend off. That's not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I used to work in sales for years. I worked for Metro Mattress for like a decade, and
Metro.
yeah, sleep superstore. That was so. Actually, there's 2 points of that so one, it's retail hours. Your weekends, my weekends when I worked there were either a Monday and a Tuesday or a Wednesday and a Thursday.
Right.
Weekends, especially on a holiday weekend, you were working. There were no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no you worked.
Yeah.
So for a decade, I was really used to that. I would tell friends and family, hey, don't even think about inviting me to the Saturday hang or barbecue, because I'm not going to be available, and I don't want to have to turn it down. And I'm getting kind of flashbacks to that now, working at the bar, which thank God that'll be done in a month and a half, but because that's when the season's over at the farm. But like yesterday, Rebecca, who my wife's expecting, and her
How far along is she?
so she's due around Thanksgiving. So yeah,
We're on the last trimester. Right?
yeah. And actually, we have one of her good friends and one of my good friends are both all pregnant at the same time. So all of us are due within like a week.
Nice.
So she went to her one friend's baby shower yesterday, but it was like a co-ed, baby shower. And
Nice.
But I couldn't go because I was bartending, and I didn't want to hire staff, try and find somebody, and yeah. So yeah, it's bringing back like flashbacks to the sales, working in retail sales.
It's just not fair.
No.
It isn't. And like, I mean, for us, we built this restaurant knowing that we had a family and we wanted to have a family life, and that we're not going to miss another Christmas. Fuck that shit. And so my restaurant is not a restaurant that's open on Christmas, nor would it ever be. Like, it's definitely not that type of restaurant. It's not the type of restaurant that is a Thanksgiving restaurant, an Easter restaurant, a Mother's Day restaurant. We're open on Mother's Day, but like, I didn't want to be a special occasion place because, and I mean, like, that's each owner operator's decision. But for us, I'm like, and I don't want my staff to work on those days.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, I would rather, like, and, July, if we are open on some days, it's that our holidays we'll do reduced hours, and we'll, like, ask for everybody to give us, like, a little block of time. Like, give me a 4-hour window that you can work. Everybody that way, like, you can do the rest of your stuff. Like, you can go to the club and party, whatever you do, go to your camp. You have the time to do it. But, yeah, like, I don't want to ask people to give up their life to make food for others. Like, you should be able to do the stuff that everybody else does,
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of another unique industry where,
Healthcare.
yeah, probably healthcare. I mean, where it requires so much of those that work in the industry.
Yeah.
But there's also such little separation between the worker and the owner. Like in most, I'm sure there are others, but like there's so many industries where the worker is so far removed from the people that own it that are making the profit. And even though in the restaurant industry there's not much
No.
profit,
Right.
but in restaurants, you're especially in an area like ours where there's so many independent restaurants, they're right there next to them, and the gap to get from the worker to and to be your own owner is, in a lot of cases, minimal. Unfortunately, it's maybe too easy to own a restaurant these days, but that gap is really, really small. So I don't know. I think it's kind of, you know, if you find somebody who wants to be in the industry for life, like when they start out, which I'm sure you all probably don't get many of those
No.
out there, but if you find somebody that's like getting into it and I want to make a career out of this, or I want to advance one day, I want to own my own restaurant, it's probably easier to have somebody that's willing to sacrifice all that time. And
But I don't want them to. That's my thing. Like, I don't want to teach that to people anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that to be the norm for the industry anymore. Like, yeah, it's always going to be a Friday, Saturday night gig. Like,
right.
fair enough. It isn't for us, thank God. But yeah, you're going to work on those days and that's cool. But like, hey, I've got a wedding that Saturday. I will not be there. And that shouldn't cause the entire restaurant to collapse if
Yeah.
one person isn't there.
Is that why you all opened up the style of restaurant you did, so you could have that
Yes.
life balance?
Well, I don't know that we opened it. The reason why we opened this restaurant, it was because it was not met. Like, the need was not met in Skaneateles. There was no healthy place. It was pizzas and hamburgers repeatedly in all the different locations. And then there was one place that did breakfast, but they were completely overwhelmed and the service was not ideal a lot of time for me.
Which one, Johnny Angels or Hilltop?
No, I'm not even talking. I'm talking grab and go.
Oh, okay, gotcha, yeah.
Breakfast on the go. We're
Yeah.
busy grabbing a sandwich and a coffee to go and stuff. Nobody had online ordering when we started.
Yeah.
We're the first one to bring it. So I was like, this town needs a place where they can order online. And then obviously, as we're doing that, the pandemic hit and like everybody got it. But like when we were starting, we were going to be the first ones with online ordering. And it was definitely a need in Skaneateles, and the need for something healthy, like healthy convenience, delivered with accuracy and like authenticity. Like, authenticity being like, I don't ever want to be fake. So I'm never going to like fake smile to you, but you'll know that I'm happy you're there by other ways of me just looking at you in the eye and like making small talk and whatnot. So like, I always tell this to my staff. Like, I never wanted you to be somebody you're not, but you need to make people feel welcome. So be efficient, be accurate, and be authentic to who you are. And that was missing. Lots of fake people.
I love Skaneateles.
So do I.
My family we grew up when I was born and raised in Kentucky, and we moved. My dad's from Syracuse. We moved here when I was 13, but when I was a kid living in Kentucky, we vacationed in Skaneateles. The Rinaldi family, who owns like United Auto Supply,
They come in. I feel like that last name sounds familiar.
they the dad who's now so my grandfather used to own a company called American Amusement, and back in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, I think maybe in the 40s, if there was a jukebox, a pinball machine, a cigarette machine, you had to get it from him.
Cigarette machines.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, those were great. And so Grandpa had money, and they had a place in Skaneateles, and at some point they sold the camps that they had, and they were renting from the Rinaldi's, who had like this beautiful compound. It was like 5 condos, and
Nice.
they owned most of the point, Apple Tree Point, so a little over halfway down the lake.
On the west side?
Yeah. So we used to always vacation there, like every year. We never went to Disney. We went to Skaneateles for 2 weeks. And so, yeah, I grew up on Skaneateles in the summers that way. And then when we moved here, the whole family had bought back the old place my grandfather had sold and tore it down and built a new place. And now since then they've sold that. But we still, my brother and his family and my brothers and their families and my sister, we all come up and rent a place in Skaneateles for at least a week every year.
I mean, I always say I'm from Montreal, right? So obviously, like, great city,
Yeah.
lots, like, amazing food scene. I'm French Canadian, so I can speak French there, which is great.
You're French Canadian? I thought you were like Swedish.
No, French Canadian. My first language is French. And so sometimes when I'm looking for my words, it's because it's not my first language. But yeah, so I moved from Montreal to Skaneateles, and I always said that I think that the transition moving to the States would have been much harder if I moved to like Syracuse, where
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't know where else, but or Auburn. And like moving to Skaneateles was like, oh,
Yeah.
like this is
My people.
yeah. I don't know my people because like I said, like French Canadian people are very authentic. I feel like it's like part of who we are. Like very just like like I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm not like
Right.
I'll be like who I am. And then I remember my first interaction with somebody from Skaneateles, a very famous real estate agent over there. And I was like, oh my God, is that how people are going to be? Because like, I was like, like somebody that asks you a question and just is looking everywhere else.
Yeah.
Like they don't care what your answer is. Like
Right.
let's not make small talk. We don't need to, let's just, you got to ask me a question and I'll answer, so that was tough for me like initially, but other than that, like just how beautiful the town is and everything. And now that I feel like we're part of the community, I would never live anywhere else.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Love that place. Love how it's a bunch of small families.
Mm-hmm.
You know everybody. If you're a certain kind of person, then you'll find your people. Then other kind of people will find, there's different kinds of groups. I wouldn't say that like I have tons of friends, but I have a bunch of acquaintances. So Skaneateles for me has been like very welcoming.
Yeah.
And I think it would be for anyone.
That's probably the toughest part about Skaneateles is you saying that. As I'm thinking about it now. There's probably a great sense of community in Skaneateles, but there's also probably not much depth to this sense of community.
Correct. Like, well,
Everybody has a lake house, if you're there, right? Like,
yes.
like there's not too many people that are like, not too many situations where you want to like go hang out at your friend's house because it's in a better part of town. Like you're in fucking Skaneateles.
Yeah. No, a lot of people have a lot of money, but I thought you meant like it's hard for somebody that's on the outside coming in. Like there's not many ways to infiltrate.
Well, both.
Yeah, because like the reason why I guess I've infiltrated Skaneateles is because of our business and because of my kids being in school.
Yeah.
So if you don't have kids, which we didn't from 2012 to 2014, and then your kids are babies, so you're not doing anything until 2016. So for 4 years, I knew 0 people in Skaneateles living there.
Where were you all working during those years?
So when my first job out of school, coming from Montreal, and I did my bachelor in hospitality at l'Université du Québec à Montréal, which is not fancy. It just sounds fancy.
Say chicken riggies with that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's no way to translate that. Yeah. Was at Greek Peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So that was an adjustment.
The
The labor
for sure.
pool was different.
Yeah.
But I was actually a banquet manager for Greek Peak when I first moved here, and I was like the first banquet manager they had. Basically, there was no banquets before. There was not much banquets before I started there.
Oh wow. We were just there for a wedding
Oh,
The last Saturday.
yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, well, it's definitely
Changed,
changed
yeah, completely. They
from
just
the
did, like-
time I was there. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was not pretty when I was there.
Yeah.
They had just they tracks, not tracks. Yes, tracks, which is like the pizza place
Okay.
on the ski hill.
Yeah.
That wasn't even built. None of that was built. It was still under the previous owner. So I worked there, and then I worked at the Sheraton Syracuse University Hotel
Okay.
as a catering sales manager, and then I actually went back to Greek Peak as a food and beverage director.
Okay.
Highly underqualified for that job at that point. And then I worked for the OG, Olive Garden. And although we like to shit on chains,
Yeah.
and they are the best teacher for anybody in the restaurant industry. If you're going to own a restaurant, you need to work in a chain.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. The systems are in place.
The systems are in place, and like there's standards of quality control that just don't exist in
Right.
an independent restaurant.
Yeah.
Like whether you're trying to sound real fancy with your place, sorry, like there's a lot of stuff that you could do better. And like not having that, you're not going to learn that in school. I didn't learn that in school. I mean, like, yes, you do like your serve safe kind of thing, but like it's not in practice.
All right.
And then like the systems are just not in place. So anyways, I learned a lot, hated the job, but learned a lot there. So I'm glad I did it. And then I actually was pregnant with my second kid, and it was killing me a little bit. It's called the ghetto garden for a reason. Like it was really tough. It was tough. I liked everybody I worked with though, but it was definitely like a difficult environment. Mostly because of the staff and crowd that would coming in, like very difficult family situation, and then they would confide in you, and it's like, how? Like, how are you going through this? And it was like everybody has like the worst life story. I was just like, oh my God, like it was just like really just sad,
Yeah.
like just like, oh my God, and you want to help everybody, but you can't. I remember there's one kid, super sweet, but he had like really bad depression, and you never knew which version of the kid you were going to get any given day. And sometimes he would just have to come in the office and cry for a straight 30 minutes. We said nothing. He just cried, and he's like, all right, I'm ready. And he would just go back to work.
Jeez.
And he had like it was just like awful, but I learned a lot. And then I actually went work in the White Birch tasting room, which is where Good Eats and Sips is. So
Yeah.
that's how we got the space.
Yeah.
Because they closed down. So
Yeah, it's amazing to me how many things haven't happened in the village of Skaneateles, and the things that haven't worked out. Like Creekside Coffee and
Was
the
amazing.
bookstore was my favorite business that maybe has ever existed.
agreed. It was like I love that place.
Yeah.
I used to go there. So did Don
Yeah.
every morning. And the change of hand was like, oh, that's too bad. And then like it just shut down after that.
Wild.
Yeah.
Completely crazy bonkers that business.
Why do you think it didn't work out? It wasn't the business model. It was how it was. They were operating probably in a non-sustainable fashion.
So I ran into years ago when I worked for Bailiwick. I did their social media for a couple months.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Our lawyer wanted us to be a bailiwick. But
Really? I'm not proud of how I handled the situation at Bailiwick,
Oh.
but that's an off-camera story. Anyways, actually, that's probably I'm never going to tell anybody. It's not my wife's story.
Heard that.
So I worked for Bailiwick for a couple months, and they a very well, extremely clean kitchen, very well run business. Nancy knows what she's doing through and through. Weekly meetings with all their department heads. They didn't really give anyone space to not fit in. Like if you had a bad attitude, you got a couple weeks to snap out of it, and if you didn't, you were gone. But anyway, so one of the people that would often come into Bailiwick was the former coffee roaster from Creekside. I forget his name, and I'm sure he did more than just roast coffee, but I had asked him, I was like, why did that place go under? And he said, I think it was the person who owned the building, his daughter.
Oh.
The person who owned the building's daughter watched the movie You've Got Mail and
Okay.
wanted to just desperately own something that felt like the shop around the corner from the movie.
I
And
don't
so
remember it.
and so it's like
gotta
a
look it up.
tiny, quaint bookstore that goes out of business to a Barnes and Noble-esque place.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
And so because she wanted to own a business and have that vibe, which is exactly what Creekside had, it was this perfectly gorgeous, comfortable
Hangout
place
spot. Yeah.
to go and shop for a book and get a cup of coffee and sit there and relax.
Yep.
And it was a great, wonderful business. And like many of those places that are great and wonderful, they really only exist if someone is there to subsidize them because unfortunately the traffic
making
just
the
wasn't there.
I don't know that the traffic wasn't there. Was the traffic really not there? I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think I know. I don't know.
All of a sudden, like there's like faint memories I'm having of the story being that the person who owned the property died and something, but and that's why. But I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I just a business like that was perfect for Skaneateles. I mean, it was off the beaten path, just barely, not really off the beaten path, but it was off from the main street, so you could park.
Yes.
It wasn't overrun all the time. It had plenty of seating when the loft was upstairs before they flooded the whole place with the bookshelves.
Oh, I don't remember that. I remember the seating upstairs.
They always had the seating upstairs, but there was like a year or two before they closed where they shut down the bookstore across the hall, and it would turn into like a yoga or event space. And they tried to smash shelves of books on every floor. So all of a sudden, like what was this open area to stand and order your coffee was like you might be waiting in line in between aisles of books.
So I remember that. That's
Yeah.
what I remember. I don't remember the bookstore across the street. Across
really?
the
Okay.
Yeah, where the cake shop is now.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. So I probably came in
Okay.
the last 2 years, and I did. I
Yeah.
came probably the last 2 years of that, and I was fine with the books being shoved kind of like in that space.
Yeah.
I thought that made nooks.
Yeah,
Sort
kind
of.
of. Yeah. So the original space, the coffee shop, was much more open, more seating, and the bookstore was on the other side. There's a lot of those businesses that if they just had a few $1 million to subsidize, they could stay open. If they didn't care about profit, because their only qualm.
Or if they offered, I don't know.
They did a lot. They did lunch. They did breakfast.
And
at
it was good,
Creekside.
right?
Yeah.
It was good.
I mean,
I remember bagels from there.
right.
Because that's one reason why I was like, there's no bagels in Skaneateles. I want to do like
Yeah.
bagel sandwiches. And that's one of the reason why Good Eats and Sips is just bagels.
The only places to get coffee right now or breakfast, well, besides now Clover's, but the only place to really get breakfast in the village is Green Mountain and you, right?
And the bakery.
Oh, that's right. I always forget about the bakery. Yeah.
And the bakery, yeah. And I made a point to make it like I knew what the bakery was doing very well, like they do coffee and their sandwiches and a few salads and whatnot. I just wanted like a different offering, and like you look at our menu, it's like nothing that anybody was doing in town.
Yeah.
Like it literally brought what we didn't have in
Yeah.
a town. Like, and we were very thoughtful about how we were planning. I'm like, no, like I'm not going to do bagel sandwiches on English muffin. The bakery does that. I don't want to do pizza because Next Door does that, and Gilda's does that, and Mike's does that, and Moro's does that, and everybody else, basically. Everybody else does pizza. Nobody does bowls. Nobody has a good salad. So I just was very intentional about the offering, and it's hard. Like it's not, it's a difficult industry. It's a fucking, and Skaneateles we had to struggle. I mean, it was not easy opening in like the middle of, whatever, the pandemic and whatnot, and just making your name and like constantly delivering consistency And I mean, like, you got to be there for a solid year delivering perfection in
Yeah.
order for people to be like, okay, like, all right, because there's a lot of businesses in Skaneateles that just haven't made it food wise.
Yeah.
And it was probably that, like, the effort that it takes to deliver consistently and creative, like, and bring different flavors to the, just not be boring,
Right.
constantly be evolving, but within your concept, because you can't be everything to everybody. And I think a lot of restaurants, one in particular right now that I love, but like, you can't just be like everything to everybody.
Yeah.
That's not the point of your restaurant.
What
You're doing this.
What restaurant?
I can't. I can't. But I know that if that person is listening to that, they would know that it's them because they really need to reel it in. And I love them deeply and they do a very, very good job. But it's too much right now. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, is this like, what, like, why is there 5 restaurants within one menu?
Yeah.
And I know the
Hold
person
on.
that executes it. And I'm like,
All right. Yeah. So we're back, everybody. That makes sense. Yeah. It's surprising. Like, I'm surprised that the place before them didn't make it. I think it's not the same owners, is it?
oh, no.
Okay. And what was it before that?
Possibility. I was going to say possibilities. It was Joe's Pasta Garage.
It was Joe's, but what was before that? Was it anything? Or was that the first restaurant in there? That was the first restaurant.
I don't
in
know.
there.
I wasn't there before
Yeah.
Joe's Pasta Garage.
And I don't know what happened there, but with Joe's, why they went out. But
Yeah, because it's like what, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can't be everything to everybody.
Right.
And you can't, we get, and it's funny because now Clover's is filling the niche that it needed for that crowd of people in
Yeah.
the morning that needed a cheap coffee
Right.
and a piece of toast. That for 2 years we were kind of like forced to
yeah.
kind of accommodate and with pleasure, but it's also not why my restaurant existed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't be everything to everybody. And I was just like, "Okay, do you have sweet and low? Do you have equal?" No, I don't. Nor will I ever. Like, do you have, I don't know, like it's like asking for mint jelly on like lamb. No, like we're not, like, no, it's not here. It's not for you. You will try something else. I know this is past, like, you're past the point of changing at this point, but like, I'm not here to accommodate the entire world with their specific little needs. Like, I'm here to accommodate people that want some healthy foods with good flavors, serve quickly because they got a family, they got to go places, they're
Yeah.
busy, like I'm there for that.
Right.
I'm all there for that. So when you start getting into the trap of like being everything to everybody, then it becomes unsustainable.
For sure.
And you're counting packets of equal to reorder. And you're just like, why do I even have equal?
I do understand that. I understand what you're saying. And I don't think that a restaurant should be everything to everybody. A restaurant has to really figure out who they're going to be and then
Yes.
go after it. And the challenge with that for a locally owned restaurant, for an independent restaurant,
Hospitality, yeah.
is sometimes they go with their personality, which sucks and is
Yeah.
not marketable.
Yeah.
And they just chug along. And then other times they go without their personality and they just they chose wrong. Like they chose the wrong thing, like that restaurant that you're mentioning. And then they're
Well,
just,
I think that's a product of the pandemic.
yeah,
It was like a lot of like, we got to do to go, right? These things that we currently have on our menu are great to go. Like they're great at
Right.
catering out. So I think it was like a product of that. But now that we're kind of like past that point, it's time to like, let's
Yeah.
bring it back in, And if you want to keep going with this particular section of your menu, then great, but fine. I don't know. Like it's really, I just care about them deeply, and that's why
yeah.
and I know who executes all that, and
Right.
I want them to have a quality of life
Yeah.
and, like have a great time at work and not be overworked. And it doesn't need to be that difficult.
Yeah.
But, if you like really, all right, like what is our purpose here? And yes, it is hard to select, like, because you're right. It could be like an ego thing where, a restaurateur is like all about, I know what's best.
Yeah.
And I'm going to only serve that.
I think part of it in some cases is ego, not in this one.
No,
I think
definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another part of it is just ignorance. People who
And I don't think it's that either.
yeah,
I think it's just a product of what happened the past few years. They're just kind of stuck in
well,
there.
and the in regards to the pandemic and people still having that pandemic mindset, the mindset that they have is, I need to grab every dollar that I possibly can. And if that means that
that is exactly what's happening there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and there's a lot of places that are still doing that. They're showing up at, they're doing things the events and things that they shouldn't be doing. They're tossing out new menu items that aren't on brand and all that kind of stuff. And you see that all over the place.
And I hate that. Why is Panera serving pizza? I mean, like, I'm glad because, like, my kids will have that now because I go to Panera. Because that was one of my first jobs ever. So even though Don says that it's hospital food, I have, like, a special spot in my heart for Panera. But, like, why are we doing pizza and chicken sandwiches?
Yeah.
No. Take that off. Like, why do we need that? Like, you guys have a
Yeah.
great concept. Like, why are we doing this? Like, it's frustrating to me. Like, why are we doing this? But I'm sure the pizza sells well because whatever. It fills that need. But,
All right.
yeah. Being everything to everybody is hard because then you lose sight of why you wanted to be there. I remember when we first started, somebody was like, you should do gluten-free pizza. I'm like, I should not. I should not do pizza like that. You should do milkshakes. You should do this. You should do that. And that was like in the time that we were not that busy, and we didn't build our clientele. And it's really easy at that point to like be a spaz and start doing everything. But I was like, no, I'm going to focus on the things that I want to do that are needed. And I know they're needed because I'm not that special and I have that need. So there's a bunch of other moms and dads out there that just want good food, quick, it's not going to make them feel like shit after eating it. Like, I knew I had something there because then again, I'm not that special. Therefore, a lot of people must have the same needs. And, it's really easy to get distracted with everybody throwing ideas at you, which is really not helpful. But sometimes it is. But yeah, so basically, you got to stick with your gut, I think. Hopefully your gut is right. And, like, is it on brand? Because for Don and I, Good Eats and Sips was always like, we're going to grow.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be like a sole operation. It's like building that brand, building the core menu items, working on how fast we can put them out or how well we can put them out. And there's always like one lady is like, do you guys make your own oat milk? No, I don't. I'm not making my own. I've got 2 kids. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be there 500 hours a day to make my own oat milk and go, do you have your own garden where you get, no, like, I'm a person too. Like, can we just like not expect everybody to be everything? Like, I'm not in the milk making business. I'm not in the gardening business. I'm here to make you your food and for you to feel welcome when you come in and to deliver that to you accurately, hopefully, and in a timely manner. And I want you to feel good about eating it. But no, I'm not going to make, and Don is, because he's a chef, there are a lot of times like, we could make this, I'm like, I know. We could make our own this, our own that, our own this. But it's like, you got to pick and choose, like, what is going to be really, if we're going to grow, right? Like, he wanted us to make our own boba. I'm like, no, we're not making we're not making our own boba. It's like, it's really easy. Like, you just drop some juice. I'm like, okay. And who's going to drop the little things? because it would literally take hours, I think. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't, but it's like you got to pick and choose.
I was just sitting. I want to do a reaction video to this podcast.
Yeah.
With Don. So film him watching this and then responding. That would be hilarious. Don, you're going to listen and watch this, and I'm very serious about wanting to do that because that would be hilarious. No, it's I understand what you're saying. There's like there probably the mindset of a chef is to
I can make this better.
Yeah.
And I can and it's true.
right.
Okay. I know that Don can make a better. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that he suggested we do. Boba is the first thing that comes. I'm sure we can make better bobas than the bobas that we're buying.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it. It's just you gotta let's focus on our sauces and make really badass sauces. I think that's gonna make the biggest impact versus the boba.
Yeah.
Or let's make our own. You can make your own everything, but it's like you got to focus on what's our core purpose here. Freshness, flavor. Where are we going to get the most sauces and
I have a feeling this is a conversation that you two have had often.
He just often says to me, we can make our own X, Y, and Z. And then immediately, and that, it makes him mad. It makes him really mad. But I'm like, yeah, we can also, do all this stuff. But it's not we don't have time for that. But it wouldn't take a lot of time to do this. I'm like, okay, but we got 2 kids. we got to have days off. And,
Yeah.
And he's right. Can you make a better kimchi? Probably. Mm-hmm. But the Asian market has a great kimchi for the amount that we use.
Yeah.
We're not selling kimchi
Right.
I think FLX Stable and the chicken place they have on the corner there. Mm-hmm. What is it called?
FLX Fry Bread.
Yeah, that. So the guy that runs it, one of the chef, I can't think of it, I think Gary. Anyways, he was telling Don I can't remember how long ago that he was making buckets and buckets of kimchi. Yeah, if you're at that point, that is an impactful choice to make.
Yeah, because Kyle has figured out a way. I forget what he did. He does something with brewer's yeast or something. I don't know the specifics of it, but Kyle figured out a way to make kimchi in a day or 2 days. Or immediately, I forget which, but they do something with yeast in it to speed that process up. I forget what it is, but
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he uses quite a bit of, and I think that
they use a lot of it.
We use kimchi basically right now just as an add-on. It's not in any of the bowls as a base. We've used it in the past on specials. We had a K-Punch bagel that had kimchi and avocado, Kewpie mayo. Something crispy in there, but so anyways,
yeah,
basically the point I'm trying to make is that yes, we can all make everything from scratch, but we also have a life to live and we're not everything to everybody. And I know that making almond milk and oat milk is pretty easy. You can do it pretty fast, and I get it. And I was but also I can buy it. And if it becomes, if it becomes an issue, which is another, thing that we have to worry about on a daily basis, distribution.
Yeah.
Constantly being interrupted. If it's not Don wanted to make our own sriracha, and I'm like, here we go. Because there was an issue with distribution of sriracha.
Oh, was there?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
I don't know if it's fixed now. Right? He's like, we're not going to have sriracha anymore.
Yeah.
It's going away. And then that's in literally all of our dish. I'm like, well, if that happens, we're fucked because we use sriracha way too much. But
I love, my wife does the same,
impressions.
You're doing the impression of Don, which I know you are. And I'm just I'm being triggered because my wife has the same impression for her dad as she does me. And so all I'm thinking is now I'm just thinking of this reaction video has to happen. Don's reaction video to your podcast.
And
no.
mind you, Donald is and Don has worked in like a lot of really high end restaurants
Yeah. How long have you two been together?
since 2008 when Michael Jackson died. That was the summer we met.
Okay. So were you in Dallas with him or Fort Worth?
So we actually met in the Bahamas. I was
Okay.
doing an internship at Club Med, and he was like the chef there.
Okay.
So we met there, and then after my internship ended, which was like the summer, he moved back with me to Montreal, which he didn't really have his papers for. So then he moved to Texas, and then I did a semester abroad in Fort Worth. So that was an unfortunate spot to do your internship abroad, but we were together, and actually Fort Worth was a great, city for us at that time.
Yeah.
Other than the very religious peer pressure that was like coming out of there, which was crazy. But
I lived in Killeen, Texas, which is like 2.5 hours south of Fort Worth.
yeah,
I was there 2000, I think 12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there.
oh, okay,
So yeah.
yeah, we were there like 2008 to 2012,
Okay.
so 4 years.
Yeah.
And he was, Eddie V's, which was amazing, and he was like a white coat chef there.
Yeah.
Like he never he would come out of the kitchen like his jacket was like white, and like then the casino, and he's worked obviously like a lot of restaurants around here and stuff, and he has, I think like for him, opening Good Eats and Sips, which obviously he's not working with the same labor pool
Right.
he's used to. Like, I mean, we're getting 15-year-old kids, like
Yeah.
straight out of like, we are teaching these kids how to like live their lives at
Right.
this point. Like, and being able to relate with that crowd. He's told me like it's difficult for me. Like I feel like I'm a dinosaur. I feel like I'm not, like it's harder for me to relate because I haven't had to deal with staff that was this age first and inexperienced, and you can't put the same amount of pressure,
Yeah.
on somebody that's literally
Right.
15 years
baby,
old,
yeah.
16, that was born at your prime clubbing years. And, that.
Were you a big clubber? You keep
No, I just,
referencing that.
the other day in the kitchen, they were playing like this, just like Kesha, Katy Perry radio. I'm like, these songs, children, were in my prime clubbing years.
Are they still not? They're still not very popular.
These are
songs?
irrelevant
Yeah.
right now. They're X'd. No,
That's
they're
pretty
just
funny.
it's just funny because like they were literally born in 2007, and here I am like, wow, that is like when I used to go out with a fake ID. Like,
Yeah.
how were you born that year? But no, I was not a big clubber. But clubs existed in Montreal, and I
Yeah.
would go out once a month.
Yeah.
Not a prime. Like I never went into raves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think Don had a more crazy upbringing than I was pretty tamed, but
Well, Don was born and raised in a kitchen, so that's why.
yeah, he was, and he was definitely like a fish fan and
Yeah.
hippie. He had like the stories he tells me. I'm like, you're lucky to be alive. Like, how did you survive high school and early college years is mind blowing. You should be dead. Like,
Yeah.
you should literally be dead. But
Yeah.
it's a lot calmer now. He went to seed stock this weekend and
Okay.
was pretty tired the day after. Just like, this thing's like, yeah, everybody was kind of like done at 1 o'clock, And I'm like, how late did you want to stay up? Got 2 kids at home, but
That's pretty funny.
no, I was not a prime clubber. It came up because like people will be like, oh, this is vintage, like, and it's literally like Kesha, and I'm like, I'm sorry, she said it was vintage, or like I saw this girl one time and she was wearing like this hideous top, whatever. I'm like, great. Coming back in style. Can't wait to see that shit comes back. Like, just like trash, pure trash. And she's like, yeah, it's vintage wet seal. I'm like, you did not just say that. You did not just say vintage wet seal.
That's hilarious.
There is no such thing. No. There is not. But anyways,
That's pretty funny.
yeah. So the kids,
Yeah.
they keep me young.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure. Because out there, I mean, that's who you're pulling from, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I love, like, we're so lucky to pull from such great families.
Yeah.
Like, they're all good kids and they have such great attitude and they're driven. And the kids you're working with today will literally change the world. Like, there's one kid that works for us, Max, will be a multimillionaire someday. Like, just like so nice, so like just so smart, so clean, just like perfection. And like I feel so lucky to pull from that. So that's why like expansion for me would have to be in a city where I can work with that kind of labor, which is,
Yeah.
when you think about it, I mean, I basically,
You can
Yeah.
now if you go west, if you like, follow the Finger Lakes.
yeah. Well, that's what Don, he was like, I want to have one on each of the lakes or whatever.
Yeah.
So pick like the best kind of like communities and then offer that, And I don't know much about,
Aurora would probably be next.
I don't know, there's a lot going on there. Like, no, there's another place people keep telling us. There's like a creperie there.
Yeah. Oh, Geneva. Or not Geneva. There's what the hell is the name of it?
But that place,
Yeah.
people keep telling us, you should open there.
Canandaigua.
There you go.
Yeah.
Canandaigua, people tell us all the time, you should open there. And I don't know anything about it. And I'm going to have to go check it out. But
It's
yeah,
like the Skaneateles of the 585
Great.
area code. Yeah.
I'll open in every Skaneateles of every town,
Yeah.
like of every lake or whatever. But because I want to be able to work, I think it's also an important part of people's lives. Like you remember your first job,
Yeah.
right? In high school. I mean, like I was at, well, not Panera, but like I worked in this coffee roaster for 4 years. That's the longest job I've ever had. Seriously. I've never worked for more than 4 years in a place because I've tried so many restaurants. And like, I want to be that for a lot of people, like where you learn,
Yeah.
how to be an adult, basically. It's like your first in the real world. Like mom and dad ain't there to like bail you out if you make a mistake, and learn responsibility and learn how to like, it's like, I am happy to teach that to the kids that work for us. So, and be that person for a lot of them. But I'll tell you right now, like they're lucky because like I know they're gonna go in the real world after, and they're gonna be like, oh, that's what a real restaurant feels like. Because we worked really hard to keep the vibe up, because like I told you before, like working at Olive Garden, like moody people,
Yeah.
moody, like just bad attitudes. And it's hard. Like it's hard to deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And now I have like zero tolerance for just like that attitude, that like shitty, like you can think stuff in your head and be frustrated. You can get frustrated. Like I definitely do. They did memes about us. The kids did. You should see the one about me. It's a golden retriever. This is Marie every day. And then there's like a rabid wolf next to it. And it's like, this is Marie in a rush. And it's basically like when I'm in a rush, like I'm a little more snippet, but like,
That's hilarious.
yeah. Like, and there's one about Don and like the phone ringing, because he's like really intense. Like if the phone rings more than once, like he like his eyes start switching and he's like, like he's really intense about the phone. And I get it, like it's important and stuff, like, but it's like a trigger point for him. It's frustrating sometimes too. Like they'll just like be around the phone, like, should I get that? Like, yes, you should. And it's like a guy peeking around the corner. It's like Don after the first ring of the phone and whatever. I don't know where I was going with this, but anyways.
That's okay.
Yeah.
This is gold for Don's reaction video that we're going to be doing. Yeah, it is working out at Abbott Farms at the bar out there. They pretty much exclusively hire teenagers, and that's a challenging business. I mean, the agritourism, as it's officially called, is a gold mine, especially in an area like ours. but they just have not figured it out there, unfortunately. And it could be a gold mine. They just keep making really dumb decisions. But they hire exclusively teenagers, and it is wild to think that there's like 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 and 19-year-olds. I mean, there's kids that are there that are 19 that have worked there for like 3.5 years. And to kind of see, just how all of them respond to things. I'm kind of, I'm kind of removed from it because it's like a separate entity, the bar from the farm, but it's all in this big building. And so like seeing and hearing these kids respond to stuff, it's wild. And I'm just like seeing their mind work,
Like, what do you mean? Like, how is it? Like, how are they responding in a way that makes you?
so most of them are, you can see that they're still children because like,
And they are.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
There was a guy who came in 2 days ago or the other day, and he was wanted to pick a very specific variety of apple. And he had gone outside to the shed where he's supposed to like buy his apple bag and figure out the variety. And the kid that was out there, the teenager, didn't know he was looking for Cortland apples, well, they're not in season. And this was a day when they had 5 of their teenagers just no show for work. And it was on like a busy
How did they
Saturday.
no show?
Um,
Yeah, that's not okay.
they're just let me mark this down real quick. 57, 58 cut out. 5. All right, we're back.
Have you talked to anybody that's doing like non-cash adjustments on their checks?
Like who's charging the fee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, most restaurants today are doing it.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing that.
Yeah. The things I'll say is, do you work with Bud Laura at all? Or do you know who he is?
I don't know that.
Bud Laura owns a company called
Don knows. He told me.
Okay.
Yeah, he told me about it. Yeah.
I would you're already with Toast. So ask Maura and then ask Maura first.
Laura's not with Toast anymore.
What? Are you serious?
Maura Bradley?
Yeah.
She's not with Toast anymore.
Oh man, what?
Yeah.
What happened? Do you know?
I think she just kind of like was over it.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And that
Yeah,
sucks.
I mean, she comes in to get coffee once in a while, and
Wow.
yeah, she's like, I'm not with Toast anymore. Well, I knew that because Andrew is our friend, so I had learned that from. But yeah, Maura's
I
not
should
with
call
Toast.
her. Yeah.
But she was taking the summer off,
Okay.
and now she was like looking into like what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
Kind of like that moment of like, all right, like I'm
Yeah.
done with this. What am I gonna do?
Maura is a phenomenal person and
She is.
salesperson and
Yes,
relationship builder,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
wherever she lands, I'm sure she'll succeed at. And whatever company gets her next is going to be very, very
Eat local,
fortunate.
senior.
Yeah, if I had the money, you kidding me? I would love to hire somebody like that.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's very personable and yeah, she's authentic.
Yeah,
That's what I like about Maura.
right.
Because as much as a salesperson, I cannot relate to anybody that's salesy, and she was never like that.
Never.
She was just like always like, I
Yeah.
don't know, like it's your friend,
Right.
And she's telling you about this thing that's going to help you,
Yeah,
and that's how all salespeople should be.
yeah,
So she is very talented. I hope she stays in sales or relationship
Right.
something.
yeah. Yeah, whatever company gets her next. Oh shit! I wish I had money. I'm gonna call her. I'm literally gonna call her after this. But yeah, we almost went with Toast at Through and Fried, and only because of Maura. And I called her, and I was, and the reason we didn't go with Toast is because they were really expensive for everything we wanted to do. Like, it was okay. Hey, here's the monthly fee. It's like, okay.
And then this,
and
and
then-
then online ordering,
Yeah.
and then marketing, and then
All right.
QR codes at the table. We just got rid of that because nobody was doing it. And then, of course, literally the second you get rid of it, then people start using it. I'm like, whatever. They haven't used it all goddamn summer. They haven't used it in the fall. They haven't used it in a year that we've had it. And like,
Yeah.
I'm done with it because it's, yeah. I mean, it was literally one person a day, maybe, that was using it. And it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive to have. And like the same thing with the marketing. to sell like marketing emails first. Like I
Yeah.
don't know how many people open them, and then it's really expensive. So I might be getting rid of that. But
We wound up going with Spot On. So Limp Lizard had gone with Spot On as we were talking to Toast. And so with Spot On, it was pretty much all of the same stuff that Toast does, except it wasn't, hey, that's 50 and that's 100 and that's 75. Most of it was just included. And then the thing that really cinched it for us was the company that owns the rights. There's two companies that own the rights to sell Spot On in Central New York. And one of them sucks and one of them's really, really good. We went with the one that was really good. It's like two fathers and two sons that run it. And Zach, the son, sat in our restaurant the entire dinner service of our first night open,
that's what you need.
just in case we had a question or something happened. I could text him on any Sunday and say, Zach, this just happened. What do I do? And he would fix it. Either he would log in and do it, or he would just give me the instructions.
Yeah.
So for that, I was like, well, that's as good as gold. Like I could pay twice as much and it would still be worth it just to know I have
I mean,
Zach.
I'll say this, like Toast is great and all, but like, and I haven't like if you have a question,
Yeah.
you better buckle up.
Yeah.
Because like you ain't getting that answer anytime
Right.
soon. And then when you get to the phone on, like, my first language is in English, okay? But I can communicate in English pretty clearly, right? But I felt a lot of time that when I was calling there was a language barrier that would make it difficult for us to get to the resolution of what I needed to do. And I'm like, that's where your language becomes a barrier to like to like your job. Like I'm
Right.
like, and you're not understanding what I'm saying. And like I am completely like, you have an accent all day long. Like I don't care, but like it was hard to communicate
Right.
what I was trying to explain. So that was difficult. I haven't had that issue in a while.
That's good.
So that was really frustrating at first. And then like our first day, they had set us up with like extra time, extra like
Yeah.
time with the person that was like supposed to be there, but like they were definitely not on premise and like there was a lot of things wrong. So that was tough, but he was there. We had him for 4 hours instead of 2.
Gotcha.
And and like at 4 hours, like, see ya.
Yeah.
Like definitely like he was done. And he's like, you can now call Toast customer service. But as far as like the KDS, that's been huge for us.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we were doing tickets before.
Yeah.
That would have been like not manageable this summer.
Right. Yeah, it's yeah, we experimented with a few different things when we first opened. We experimented with because we try to do a lot with DoorDash and Grubhub. And so we experimented with a company called Otter, which
Yep.
like gives you one, and it just wasn't working.
Yep.
And then we experimented with another company, third party, that like integrated with our Spot On, and so we didn't need any tablets. Everything would just show up. If you ordered on DoorDash,
What was that?
I forget the name of them. We only did it for like a week because the kitchen, if you place an order on DoorDash, the kitchen would get the ticket, but the counter wouldn't get a ticket. They would just, all of a sudden, if they looked, they would see that there was an open order. So we just went back to the tablets, which kind of sucks.
Like Chow Now?
It wasn't Chow Now, no. It was like a weird one I hadn't heard of before, but they integrated with Spot On.
Okay.
So we just had to download the app and then it was fine. But in theory, it was great, but in functionality, it wasn't what didn't work out for us. So, but we don't charge a credit card fee at 3-1 Fried, but Limp Lizard does. And in some ways, I completely get it. Like a lot of restaurants, I mean, listen, that's 3%, 4%.
Apple Pay is like, it's 4%.
Yeah.
And we do it.
So in some ways, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's tens of thousands of dollars, if
It
not
is.
more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a salary or two, right?
Yeah. But I get it.
Right.
I don't want to, like, I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, and then they have, like, I went to Rise and Shine, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw it for the first time there. And then I was like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Because, like, my check was not, like, $12, you know,
Right.
it was like a big check for a family of 4. So like then it's more impactful.
Yeah.
And I just basically listened to a podcast and they were talking about non-cash adjustment and the fact that and the punchline was like, stop raising your prices, consider this instead. And I think we're like capped at like we price our things the like it costs this
Right.
to eat that.
Yeah.
You know, that's the amount of like nobody's fucking like a millionaire behind this. Like
Right.
we should see our house. Like
Yeah.
we're just like the cheapest house in Skaneateles. That's us, you know, like and you know, nobody's getting rich on the back of anybody. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like this is a very honest business that we run and we price our things in a sustainable manner to pay our staff. Our kids are paid, you know, minimum wage with
Yeah.
tips, and that we share the tip throughout the entire restaurant, kitchen included. And then our non-kids, we want to retain, you know, and like we want to pay them in a fair wage that makes them able to live their lives
Right.
and make this career something that is sustainable. So, I mean, like that fucking costs money, and we don't want to serve you shit. So, not shit food doesn't cost, like it costs money. So
Yeah.
the price is what it costs. Like we had one person complain about the price of one of our dish, and it has shrimp in it, and we use good shrimp. We don't use fucking crap shrimp, and that's the cost. Like I'm not like that's the price, and you know whatever. It's like I get it. Like we're kind of like at the top tier of like the price we have to charge. Like very, you know, transparent with that, but like then how else do we make up the incredible price? Like I mean a bag of frozen berries at Costco, is $18. $18. A 5-pound bag.
Yeah.
$18. I mean, I buy it at Costco. It's $8.99.
Yeah.
So that's why I go to Costco so much. And I kill myself going to Costco every goddamn day, which I'll be going after this. Who keeps calling me? So, yeah. Anyways, that's just
Yeah.
the life. So, non-cash adjustment I was considering because it's interesting, but I feel like, how are you transparent with that? You know, and I hate to discourage people doing online ordering.
Right.
Because it's 85% of our business. You know?
Is it really?
Oh yeah. We're like our restaurant, most of the time, there's not a ton of people sitting in it. It's all online. You look at our shelf, like our to-go shelf, it's packed.
That's through your online ordering. That's not
Yeah.
through like Grubhub or anything.
We don't have, Skaneateles doesn't have Grubhub.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if like Auburn tricked over or anything.
They never did. Never have. Like we tried to. Like I've been in contact with them like a year ago, but
Yeah.
they were never like willing to expand their territory, which is dumb because they would make
Yeah.
a lot of money. I think the bakery wanted to get on like with Grubhub too. That's why they went on Toast after we did, and we thought if enough people were on Toast, then we could potentially get them to come in Skaneateles. But we did our own delivery for a while, which means that I would work from open to like 4, and then Don would call me at like 6 and be like, "Oh, I'm so busy, I got like all these deliveries." So then I'd pack the kids in the back of my car and go deliver a bagel to like a millionaire's house. And I was like, great. So yeah, we're done with delivering on our own. So that was tough, but it was needed in the time that we did it.
We thought about starting a delivery company in Syracuse. My dad back in the day in like 2005, 6, 7 started a company called Takeout Express that was just local delivery. It was really old school. He had a driver. You can only phone orders in. It was back when Ambrosia was open in Syracuse. But we thought about, Nick and I started talking about it before the pandemic, about like, why hasn't anybody done that? And we started to look into it. And then right after the pandemic started, I started to look into it even more intently and figured out how to do it. There's your biggest obstacle would be having the software that automatically triggers everything. So order placed, restaurant gets it, driver gets it, customer notifies. There's a
The
software.
technology.
Yeah. There's a software I found that does it, and it's like $600 a month for the software. It's great. Your next biggest obstacle would be finding drivers and making sure you have drivers that are available, which I don't think there's too much of an issue with that anymore because Grubhub and DoorDash, we don't really have issues. But my idea for that business was to create a co-op with local restaurants. So you would need one person really to run that business, and you'd have to get your drivers and all that kind of stuff, but they're 1099. But you would need one person with a decent salary to like really run that business for you. But restaurants could get in, not charge delivery fees, not take a cut of deliveries from customers. And if you had 20 restaurants all on the platform, it would cost them like $200 a month to run that business and have a local delivery option. And during the pandemic, I thought about it for a second. Like I put everything out. I contacted a couple big restaurants and I was like, hey, here's the model. I don't have time to be involved with it, but it would work if you guys want to start it, and I'll kind of advise it. And nobody really wanted to jump into it. Yeah. But that I feel like something like that would work. You know, if you'd have to really manage the scale.
I think you could definitely do that in Skaneateles, some kind of like, because like with all the restaurants that there is, like, and everybody would want delivery.
Yeah, especially if you were just open like really in the summer, you know, summer and fall, and even Skaneateles. I mean, hell, you could, you know, open from like 2 to 7 or 2 to 8 and kind of be good. You really wouldn't have to do anything crazy.
We really wanted to do like jet ski delivery to the Cove. I'm like, it'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, think of how many drivers we can get for that. All those rich kids like on their jet ski. You bring your own jet ski, your own insurance.
I'm surprised no one has ever started a party boat or a boat that like sold food on the lake out there.
It's Skaneateles.
Yeah, but can they really can they really regulate the water?
Yep.
I mean, I know the village sucks, but
they can regulate you to like the color of paint you use on your door. So they can definitely regulate their pristine water.
Yeah.
And that's why we'll probably never be jet skiing delivery. Drone delivery though, we looked into, but
that's funny.
Yeah. Because our friend has a droning business and stuff. So
Oh, really?
yeah. Scan drone. And she's like, I want to be you know, like we were talking about that it would be cool, but
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Don to look at.
I know. Don, I'm going to look right at this camera. Don, I mean this. Let's schedule a time. You come in. We'll film your reaction to this podcast.
Great.
We should have done that with you with Don's podcast, but I don't think Don talked about Don did not do any impersonations of you in his episode. So
they're all done with the most heartfelt.
Yes, I know. There's no evil and malice intended. Well, everybody get out to Skaneateles, check out Good Eats and Sips, and bring your Eat Local New York card because they are one of the participating restaurants.
Indeed we are.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.